So you know that feeling, right? You're online, maybe just talking with friends, and a big social issue comes up. And before you know it, it's just evolved into a total shouting match. It feels like we just can't talk to each other anymore. Well, today, we're going to figure out why. We're diving deep into what's wrong with our public conversations. And we've got a guide, a kind of social doctor, if you will, the philosopher Jürgen Habermas. He's given us this incredible toolkit to actually diagnose what's going on with our democracy.
I mean, it's a question I think a lot of us here in Taiwan are asking. We've got this really vibrant democracy that we're so proud of, but man, does it feel like we're more divided than ever sometimes? So what we're going to do here is get past just being frustrated. We're going to look past the symptoms we see every day on the news and on social media and try to find the actual, the root cause of the problem.
Okay, so these are the big symptoms, and I bet they all sound super familiar. You've got the extreme political polarization, right? The us versus them mentality. You've got this really worrying decline in public trust in, well, pretty much everything. And of course, the social media echo chambers that just feed us what we already believe, plus all the fake news and misinformation that just spreads like a virus. It really does feel like our basic ability to just talk is breaking down.
So, to really get a handle on what's going on, we need more than just, complaining about it. We need a real framework. And that's where our social doctor, Jürgen Habermas, comes in. Now, I know what you're thinking. Philosopher, is this going to be a dry lecture? No way. Think of Habermas as giving us this incredible diagnostic kit, a set of tools we can use to actually measure the health of our public discussions. All right, first things first. Before you can figure out what's wrong, you've got to know what right looks like, right? So Habermas gives us this blueprint for what a perfectly healthy conversation looks like. It's our baseline, the ideal model we can use to measure what's really happening out there.
Okay, so at the very core of his whole idea is this big split between two completely different ways we can interact with each other. On one hand, you've got what he calls communicative action. This is when our goal is just to understand each other. We're talking to find common ground, to reach a consensus. Then you've got the other side, strategic action. And this is totally different. The goal here is to win, to push your own agenda, to control the situation, to get what you want. You can see how one is about building bridges and the other is basically about building walls.
And this leads us right to our main diagnostic tool. It's called the ideal speech situation, or ISS for short. Just imagine for a second the most perfect, fair, rational discussion you can. It's like a perfectly clean, sterile lab for our conversation. Now, is this something we see in the real world? Almost never, but that's the point. It's our gold standard, our benchmark that lets us measure just how messy and, contaminated our real-world conversations have become. So what are the rules for this perfect conversation? Well, there are 4 of them, and they're actually pretty simple, but they're incredibly powerful. Rule 1, everybody gets to speak. Doesn't matter who you are, your voice counts. Rule 2, you can question anything. No idea is off-limits or too sacred to be challenged. Rule 3, you have to be sincere. You got to actually mean what you're saying. And Rule 4, this one is the big one. There is absolutely no coercion. No one can use their power or their money or threats to win the argument. The only, and I mean only, thing that's allowed to have any force is the better argument itself.
Okay, so we have our diagnostic kit. We have our checklist for a healthy conversation. Now, let's use it. Let's hold it up to what's happening right here in Taiwan and see how our public conversations measure up.
Wow, this quote it hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Discussion shifts from seeking consensus to strategic action. Just think about pretty much any political talk show you've ever seen here. Is the goal to actually understand each other? To find some common ground? No way. It's all about strategic action. It's about rallying your supporters, attacking your opponents, and just winning the argument for that day. It is a perfect textbook example of communication being pushed aside for strategy.
So here are the results of our diagnostic test. And, well, it's not looking good. Let's go down the list. Discourse equality, where everyone has an equal voice? Nope. We see that it's really just a few political elites and media personalities who get all the airtime. Okay, what about sincerity? Are people being genuine? Absolutely not. Not when our conversations are flooded with strategic PR messages and just plain fake news. And finally, no coercion? Is the best argument winning? Not even close. It's all about party pressure and whipping up emotions, which totally drowns out any kind of rational debate. Okay, to really understand the final diagnosis, we need 2 more key ideas from Habermas. Don't worry, they're pretty straightforward. First, you got the life world. You can think of this as the heart and soul of our society. It's our culture, our values, our everyday chats over coffee. It's where we connect as human beings. It's where communication is supposed to happen. Then you've got the system. This is the world of money, the economy, and the world of power, the state. And the system doesn't care about understanding. It runs on a different logic entirely, the logic of efficiency, strategy, and control.
And here we have it, the final diagnosis. Habermas calls it the colonization of the life world. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's when the logic of the system, that cold, calculating logic of power and money, invades our life world. It takes over the spaces where we're just supposed to talk and connect. So our public square, instead of being a place for understanding, gets turned into a battleground for political power and a marketplace for selling influence.
And look, this isn't just some abstract philosophical idea. This colonization has huge real-world consequences that I think we all feel every single day. And it all boils down to one major thing, a massive crisis of trust.
So you actually get two big crises that spin out of this. The first is a legitimation crisis. This is when people start looking at the government, at the institutions, and thinking, you know what, this whole thing isn't fair. Decisions are being made because of money and power, not because they're the right decisions. We stop believing the system is legitimate. And the second one is a motivation crisis. When real conversation breaks down, so do our shared values. People just get cynical, they check out, they think why bother, or even worse, they get pulled towards extreme views because it feels like rational debate is completely impossible.
You know, a healthy democracy is supposed to work on what's called a two-track model. Think of it like this. Track one is us, the public, having real, honest discussions about what matters. Track two is the formal political system. And the whole point is that track one is supposed to inform and guide track two. There's this one vital connection, this one essential input of rational public opinion that the system needs to function correctly. But when our life world gets colonized, that connection gets cut. It's severed. The feedback loop is broken.
Okay, I know this all sounds pretty pessimistic, but hey, any good doctor who gives you a diagnosis should also give you a prescription, right? So the big question is, can we be saved? Can we heal our public conversations? And the answer, thankfully, is yes. But it means we have to actively fight back against this colonization.
So what does this anti-colonial action plan look like? Well, there are three main parts. First, we have to de-strategize the public sphere. That means tackling fake news head-on, pushing for platforms that value good arguments over just clicks and outrage. Second, we have to rebuild that broken link between the people and the politicians. When citizens get together in things like citizen conferences and come up with good ideas, we need to make sure those ideas are actually listened to, not just filed away. And third, and this one is on all of us, we need to get better at communication ourselves. We need to sharpen our critical thinking, learn to spot when we're being manipulated, and commit to arguing in good faith.
Really, when you boil it all down, the goal is simple. It's about taking back our public spaces for what they were meant for. It's a fight to put genuine communication back in the driver's seat so that it's guiding the money and the politics, and not the other way around.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. We live in a world where algorithms are literally designed to make us angry, and political machines are built to divide us. In the face of all that, how do we do it? How do we carve out spaces, both in our own lives and in our society, where the best idea can actually win? How do we find our way back to believing in the unforced force of the better argument? Something for all of us to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.